Hi everyone, you're watching the In Google Sheets channel, and today is our 11th lesson on Google Sheets. In this lesson, we'll explore the import range function, we'll learn what it does and where it's used. And at the end of the video, as always, I'll show you a real-life example of how to use this function. So let's get started. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's go! So, what is the import range function for? This function is used to import data from other spreadsheets. Let's say we have a data set here, and we also have another spreadsheet from which we want to extract that data. It's a different spreadsheet, not ours, and it's not located in this file. In other words, it's a separate spreadsheet. That's exactly where the import range function comes in handy. Let's try to make a simple request. We start by typing equals, then we write import range and choose the one we need. At this point we get a prompt, spreadsheet URL. We open the quotation marks, close them, place the cursor in the middle, go to our other spreadsheet, copy the entire URL and paste it right here. Next, the function requires us to specify the sheet and the range we want to pull. This also has to be passed as text, so we use double quotation marks. Now we type the sheet name. Let's look at it, it's sheet 1. But I always recommend doing it this way. Rename the sheet and copy its exact name. Why? Because people who name sheets might include something like a space, and if you just type sheet 1 here, that could be incorrect. The actual name might contain a space. That's why I recommend simply copying the name of the sheet. For now, let's remove the space just to keep it clean. Now let's go back to our function. Don't forget to add the exclamation mark. And then we write the range that we want to pull from that spreadsheet. Let's take a look at what we've got. A, B, C, D, columns from A to D. So let's type that in. This function doesn't take more arguments, so we close it, hit enter, and see what we get. We're getting an error. Let's check what it says. This error is telling us that the data can't be imported until we grant access from the spreadsheet we're trying to pull data from. If we have access, we allow it. And once we do, the data gets pulled in. As you can see, everything came through exactly as we specified. You can also define, and it's a good idea, a more specific range. For example, from A1 to D1000. This is done to avoid pulling unnecessary amounts of data into our spreadsheet. Let's say you know for sure there will be no more than 100 rows. Then it's better to define that inside the import range. Because this function is quite resource intensive and consumes a lot of Google Sheets processing power. Also, as you can see, the data was imported along with the headers, which I already had in place here. So let's fix that as well. Press enter. Remove the formatting here. Now our setup looks a bit cleaner. The import range function doesn't necessarily need the full URL of the Google Sheet. It can work with just the ID. The ID is located right here, and this is always the case. Every Google Sheet has an ID like this. You can simply copy it, delete the entire URL, and paste just the ID. It will work exactly the same way. Nothing changes. And it actually makes your formulas easier to read later on. There's also a situation where, even if you write the sheet name and the correct range, the data might still not be imported, even though everything seems correct. To avoid this, always wrap the sheet name in single quotes. That way, in 100% of cases, the sheet name and range will be recognized correctly, and you won't get any errors. Now let's simplify this formula even further and move some of the parts to a separate sheet. Then we'll reference them using cell references. Let's copy this. Create a new sheet. Paste it here as sheet ID. Let's create another column. We'll name it range and sheet. Grab the sheet name, move it here. And now, in the formula itself, let's reference these cells instead. Like this. 1, 2. And we remove the quotation marks here as well. Then we insert the second reference. And right now we're getting an error, because here we actually need to remove those quotation marks. There we go. And now the data is being imported. You see, we've made our function as simple as possible. We've imported the necessary data, and now in this sheet we can change the settings and specify different ranges. In the description column we can add anything we want. For example, a note about what the table is for or who it belongs to. And all of that will update automatically in your main sheet. So essentially you're building a small tool for managing your import settings from other spreadsheets. Also, for convenience, you can copy the link and use a smart chip. Just paste it, press tab, and now you have a chip linked to your spreadsheet just to keep things organized. Now let's imagine I don't have just one worker named Donald, but several, and I want to see all their data in this sheet. To do that, I'll most likely need to use another import range. Here's my second spreadsheet. Let's go ahead and copy this, but reduce the data range in our settings to just 10 entries for now. Let's copy it and paste this function right here. As you can see, it's importing too, but only Donald. Now what do? We copy the ID from the Alice spreadsheet, and if her sheet has the same name, we can just copy all of this into our settings. We select the second row under Sheet ID. For range sheet, we enter the same value. Change this to Alice Analytic. Paste it in, press tab, and now in our import range we reference cells A3 and B3. Again, we have to grant access, and now we're getting data from the Alice spreadsheet. This way you can create as many, well, not unlimited, but around 20 to 30 spreadsheets that you can import like this. If you go beyond that, Google might not be able to process all the ranges in time, because for each spreadsheet it has to send a separate request. That's why it's recommended to stick to a maximum of 20 to 30 import ranges within a single file. No more than that. Otherwise, the data simply won't load properly. And if you do have more than 30 spreadsheets to pull from, then it's better to use scripts for that. But that's a topic for another video. If you're interested in that script, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to show and explain it. Let's get back to our import ranges. As you may have noticed, this setup isn't very convenient because the data for each of our employees will keep growing. And as a result, this block of data, it will eventually overlap with the next one. But what if I want all entries to be shown right here in one list? Not just from one table, but from 3, 5 and so on. Doing it the way we did before is not ideal. So let's go back to using curly brackets, which we have already used in previous videos, and stack everything together in one formula. Let's copy this formula, delete the individual import, and now use curly brackets. We paste in our second table's function, close the brackets, and now we get a cleaner, more structured list of our employees. Now let's go ahead and set the range for each import up to 1000 rows. That way we now have 1000 rows here, and on row 1001 you'll see that's where the data from our second table begins. This allows us to import data from many spreadsheets. Still, this setup isn't very convenient either. But to simplify things, we can take the query function we talked about in the previous video, use that combined range as our data set, and then write a simple condition. Column 1 is not null. If you're curious, go check out lesson 10, where we go over this function in detail. We close the parentheses, and now all our entries are stacked neatly one after another. In other words, we're saying, pull in all data where column 1 is not empty. where column 1 contains at least one entry. And that way we can now have as many entries as we need. Let's do it like this. As you can see, everything loads one after another, as long as access is granted. From here, you can start building your own analytics. This was a real-life example of how the Importrange function is used in practice. Now with this kind of control panel, you can add as many spreadsheets as you want. Set ranges for each of them, reference any sheets you like, there can be many of them, and you can include each one right here, one by one. Insert and add as needed, and from there you can start building your own analytics. And finally, here's a small life hack. How to hide this data from unwanted viewers. Let's say you want to import data into your spreadsheet, but you don't want everyone to see it. To do that, you need to protect your sheet, either the whole sheet or just a specific range. Let's do it like this. Set the permissions so only you can view it. Saved. Now this range is protected. Then group the columns. And now, with one click, your data disappears. And no one except you can open or expand it. I'll grant editor access to the spreadsheet, then I'll copy it. Let's open this spreadsheet in incognito mode and try to view the data. And we'll see the problem. I can't open that protected range. And even if I make a copy of the spreadsheet, meaning I duplicate it, the table will still ask me, just like I showed you at the beginning of the video, to request access to those linked spreadsheets. And until someone with access approves that request, even if you've copied the spreadsheet and you're the owner of the copy, you won't see any of the imported data. You won't be able to view anything. This way, you can block any user from seeing the data. You can build your own analytics somewhere. Like this, just showing a rough example. Build some analytics, hide the data. Also, make sure that other users can't edit the formula itself. First, take the formula, like this. Drop it down using Ctrl plus Enter. As you can see, now no one can see the formula. After that, apply range protection. Set it so only you have access. And now, once again, any other user who opens the sheet won't be able to see or edit the formula, and they'll only see their own stats. This is a very effective and interesting life hack for anyone who wants to collect data from multiple spreadsheets without showing it to people who shouldn't see it. I hope that was clear. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and if you don't want to miss new videos, make sure to subscribe to the channel. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.